called Kamashenjo Christine, co-founder Wakiso Farm Supplies. Yeah, this is Wakiso Farm Supplies located in Wakiso town, along Bukasa Road, just 2 kilometers from Wakiso town. Yes, we do deal in poultry, we supply the old chicks, we supply fertilized eggs, we supply 1 month old, and we supply even old birds.
Tell us about the feeding process. How do you feed these chicken, these birds from day one up to mature stage?
For the feeding, first of all, it will depend on the target market of the farmer. Now, for example, for the farmer that is feeding birds for meat is not the same for eggs. So they have different mixtures and even different feeding program of eggs. There is a feeding program of eggs and a feeding program of meat. But first of all, when the chicks are day old, you start with what we call starter pellet. There is a pre-starter and the starter pellet. So you can either go in with the pre-starter, that is from 0 to 8 days. Then from 0 to 8, then from 8 days you can go on with the starter. Yes, starter can go from 8 days up to like 14 days or 15 days.
Maybe go for which are the pre-starter and the starter?
Yes, for the pre-starter, we mainly use the pellet formed feeds. Yes, they are formulated with the machine, and we got those small crumbs, small parts of the feeds. Now, how they do this feeding, they mix these usual feeds, but then they make it in a pelleted form, so that it is very easy for the old chick to consume it wholly. Because now when the birds are consuming the feeds, there are these particles that remain on the feeder. So these particles mainly are those that have the most nutrients the chick should take. That is why we came up with this of doing pellet form, so that when a feed is taken, it is taken whole. The chick can take all the thing. It is like in a rice form. Yeah, so when it is taking, it takes the whole particle, without leaving anything behind. So that is a pellet form. That is the starter I'm talking about. That is the pre-starter I'm talking about. Then the difference is from the size. The pre-starter is much smaller than the starter, but they are all in a pelleted form or in crumbles. Yes, the pre-starter is somehow smaller, and then the starter is something bigger than the pre-starter. So yeah, so when you're starting the birds, when you're feeding the day-old chicks, you have to start with those feeds, the pelleted form feeds. Now from there, from like 15, some of the farmers have money, because these feeds are somehow expensive compared to these other mashed feeds. So they are somehow expensive. A kg you can find it at 3-4. The kg you can find it at 3,000. So it becomes very expensive for the farmer to feed to use these feeds up to 1 month. So that is why we always recommend them to feed them at least for 1 to 2 weeks. Yes, because those chicks, those small chicks have already gotten those nutrients, the foreign nutrients that are in those pelleted feeds. So they first go in with those ones. Then after 2 weeks, you go on with mashed feeds, or you go on with we mix the different ingredients to make some feed for the birds. Now these are the ingredients we mix. Now this is where we are going to differentiate whether you're taking for meat or you're taking for eggs. Now when you're taking for meat, you have to mix these 3 things. You mix concentrate, you mix maize brand, and maize broken. Now, farmers have a tendency of saying, no, for me, I will not use the brand because I've used the broken. It will depend on which concentrate you have used. Because some of the concentrate, they give you a mixing ratios, or how you should mix those ingredients. So some of the concentrate, they say you should put brand, some they say you should not put brand. But when you find a farmer, he has taken a concentrate, let's say a concentrate is recommending to put broken and brand, but the farmer is putting only broken. But because I think farmers think that they are the same nutrients in the broken and the brand, but it is different. Because a brand is the whole, a brand is the outer part of the maize, and a broken is the whole maize. Just we break it into smaller pieces, so the nutrients cannot be the same. Yeah, so for the meat we mix broken, we mix brand, and we mix concentrate. But then it depends on which concentrate you have used, and even the mixing ratios is provided by that concentrate you have used. Because, for example, at the farm we use Hendrix. I mean, not be had like I'm advertising some company, but that is actually that is the best so far when we are dealing with these breeds. Because as I told you, we are the breeders. So for the Hendrix, it gives us the good percentage of laying, and it keeps our birds clean. For example, the house is not smelling. Yeah, so that is for the meat. Now for the eggs, we always mix 6 things, and this is a concentrate. We mix brand, we mix maize broken, we mix soya, sunflower, and lime. Yes, those are 6 things. This is because when you're dealing with the breeds that are going to lay, let's say for example layers, those birds, they don't need fats. They don't need fats, because when they have fats, they will not be able to lay. Those fats will close the placenta, so that they don't be able to produce the eggs. Now we add lime and sunflower to just minimize the fats. Yes, to minimize the fats. That is why we add those things in the birds that are going to lay, so that they don't grow with very many fats. They don't accumulate very many fats that will make them unable to lay. But when you're dealing with a meat, then you specifically need meat. That is why we don't mix all those 6 things. Yeah, because we are targeting meat. That is what we want. Farmers should know how to feed their birds. Because when you're dealing with the meat birds, let's say for example broilers or maybe croilers, but you want them for meat, you should give them feeds. You should feed them in ad-lib. They should have feeds 24/7. I may not say like 24/7, especially for the croilers, because for the croilers they'll be time at the farm. For example, you can get them and you'll be selling them like at 4 months. So you may not need to feed them 24/7, but you should give them feeds at least ad-lib up to 2 months. Then after 2 months, you can start measuring for them. You measure for them, but then you give them feeds that are in high amounts, so that they eat very well and get that meat that you want. Now for the eggs, we have to measure the feeds. Some of the farmers, you give them layers, and then when they take them, they start feeding them now and then, evening, morning, afternoon. The birds are eating. It means they will not lay, because you are feeding them poorly. Yes, now for the eggs, you have to measure for them. Now when a day-old chick comes at the farm, when it is a layer, it will start with 20 grams per day. Yes, 20 grams per day. It is the measurement you have to start with. Though you cannot measure for them when they are at day old. You just put, but then they take what they are supposed to take. They take that 20 grams. So when you want to know the kilograms, you do 20 grams times the number of birds you have, then you divide by 1,000 from grams to kilograms. Now, for the first week they take 20 grams, but you keep on adding 5 grams per week. Yes, when this week take 20, the next week they take 25, 30, 35, like that. You keep on adding 5 grams per week. Then when it comes to 120 or 125, you keep it constant. You don't add again. You keep at that. So farmers have a tendency, you tell them you have to measure the feed, and he or she will be like, how will I measure? Do I need to get a weighing scale? Yes, you have to get a weighing scale, because you have to get, you want to get eggs from your birds. But if you say, no, for me, I will use a bucket, I will use this bucket, then next time I will use another bucket, you are not measuring for them. You're just giving them, which will affect your production. So you have to measure feeds. Yes, now some of the farmers have a tendency, now I have given them in the morning, but now in the evening quarter, they are just there. Should I give them? No, you should not give them. But if you want, well, if you're giving them like 10 kilograms in a day, you can divide. You decide to give them 5 in the morning and 5 in the evening. But then there, you're just making your workers or you yourself tired. It is very okay to give them once. You can either decide to give them in the morning or you give them in the evening. Yes, they get what they are supposed to get. And so some of the farmers also have a tendency of getting pity for the birds. He'll be like, oh, my birds, they are here, they are not eating. Let me just give them feeds. You're just spoiling them. They will not give you what you want. Yes, because they will have many fats and they will not be able to lay. Yes.
For instance, how old are these ones where we are?
Yeah, these ones where we are, they are 2 months and a half. Roughly 2 months and a half. Yes.
So how do you ensure that these birds get a balanced diet when you're giving them the feeds?
How we ensure the balanced diet comes from how we have mixed. Yes, because as I told you, we mix for them 6 ingredients. So meaning, and many of, because long time ago we are using feeds like, and we mix like cotton, we mix bread, we mix silverfish, but those things were put in a concentrate. Yes, that is why we now use a concentrate. But though some farmers, they still use those things like cotton, like bread, like silverfish, simani, things were very many. But when you're using, when we are in an era of concentrate, then concentrate is better than those things, because all those things were contained in a concentrate. Yeah, that is why we no longer use them. So we have to go with the manufacturer's prescription. What they have told us to mix is the one we should mix. If they have told us to put 10 kgs in a 50 kgs of concentrate, that is what we should do. But for the farmers, they have to look a concentrate that is a bit cheap after mixing all those ingredients.